The house looks just like the one next to it, and the one next to that, and the one next to that. A young couple live in it.
Give Ken a kiss.
You are so obnoxious.
With their 3 children.
Honey, chew each bite 10 times.
And something more.
They're here.
Sweetie, remember last night? Do you remember when you woke up and you said they were here?
Uh-huh.
Well, who did you mean? Who's here?
TV people.
Something's funny going on here next door. Something,
We were wondering if maybe you had experienced any disturbances lately.
What kind of disturbances?
I don't know what hovers over this house. I've never sensed anything like it.
That thing is in there with my baby!
They're hundreds.
Now Steven Spielberg crosses a frightening new threshold into a world within our own. Its form is revealed.
What is it?
Its focus is clear.
Don't touch my baby!
And the games are over. Poltergeist. It knows what scares you.
Alright, continuing on with the 35th anniversary of the summer of 1982 with a scary version, with a scary edition of, of course today was Poltergeist. I'm also going to do another one today, so be tuned for that. And the reason being is because both these movies were released on the same day. Poltergeist and Star Trek II were released on June 4th. I happened to look that up. You can look that up on the internet yourself. Poltergeist. You know, I don't watch a lot of horror movies. I don't like horror movies, to be honest with you. But there's just something about this one, and John Carpenter's The Thing, I just find so intriguing. Poltergeist, it's yeah, there's a supposedly curse on this movie, but I've also heard from the cast say that it was completely just false rumors that someone had started up. Yes, there are deaths that happened to some stars in the film, but to say that they were supernaturally related, no, they were. Just Heather O'Rourke, the girl who played the little girl, her death alone was just an unfortunate circumstance, and it was tragic what happened, really. And also with Dominique Dunne, who played the older sister in the film, she was killed shortly after the film's release by an abusive boyfriend. I don't know if anything supernatural had anything to do with that. But, yes, Poltergeist. Interesting about this film, little known facts. It's produced by Steven Spielberg, was directed by Tobe Hooper. Matter of fact, this film was under not just controversy of the deaths, but also the controversy of who actually directed this movie. It was under investigation for several years, and it finally ruled out that Tobe Hooper was indeed, in fact, the director. And because a lot of people were pointing to the fact that who were, and these are people who were on the set regularly. They said that Steven Spielberg was the director, and the reason being, Steven Spielberg could not direct this movie. He really wanted to, but he couldn't, was because E.T., the contract negotiations with E.T., he could not have his name attached to any other film, including that of another studio, which this was MGM, E.T. was Universal. And Tobe Hooper ended up being the director of the film, the one that's credited. But if you watch this movie, it feels like a Spielberg movie. It really does. That would make sense because it is Steven Spielberg is not only the producer but also screenplay writer. So it feels very, very Spielbergian and Amblin Entertainment like. What do I think about the movie? It is a 90 miles an hour rush, I think, because once the events start occurring, the film never lets you go. Yeah, there are calm moments where there's some dialogue between the characters and so forth, but it's about the events, about what is occurring. Some things I don't agree with. I don't agree with how the house was cleansed. Supposedly, it was cleansed by a psychic. I don't agree with that necessarily, but it's just a movie that you put in, and I could watch it and have some fun with. It does have some really creepy ideas behind it, and it really is. It holds up. A lot of people would say that this is the film that scared them when they were kids. And matter of fact, this was also a movie that created controversy with the PG rating. It's funny that the Spielberg movies tend to have a tendency with the PG rating. And how does it hold up? I think it holds up very well. Very well. The effects, there's a few effects in it that doesn't hold up because maybe it's cell animation, and there's some stop motion things, but other than that, what you see is just cool to look at in terms of how they did those effects. And it's, rotating the set to appear that someone's being rolled on top of the ceiling and things like that. It's just it's a really cool effect to see, and it's a very simple explanation effect. So I think it holds up. There was no need for a remake. Was it been 2 years ago? There was no need for that, using computer graphics and 3D effects. There was no need for that. Stick with this. So that's Poltergeist. Stay tuned. I'll have Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.